Hi, everybody. It's Kina Monic here. Welcome back to Curve-Stations with Kina Monic. And I'm sorry I missed a week, but I'm very, very happy to be back to talk to you guys. Now, tonight's topic, we're going to keep it light. I do not want to give an air of judgmental um, comments or to make anyone feel bad or this is just us discussing our problems because I'm guilty of what I'm about to talk about. But the reason why I was inspired to have this conversation is because a coworker of mine, well, let me tell you what the topic is first, okay? So the topic is relationship or your child. And how can you balance the two if both are going to be present in your life? Sometimes one will have to go, and hopefully it's just not your child. But a coworker of mine told me about someone who became homeless, and it's an 18-year-old boy, maybe 19. But the reason why he was homeless was because his mother put him out of the house to be happy and please her boyfriend or maybe her husband, which would be his stepfather. And I was really bothered by that because how could you ever allow your child to be homeless while you have another man living with you who is warm and cozy every night? And that really bothered me to know that that could actually be someone's reality. And I know that we know several situations like that. And that's why we're here to talk about it tonight. Because, you know, hurt people, and sometimes we're just damaged, and sometimes we're just too hung up on love and relationships because we do not want to do the work of being a better adult so that we can be a better parent. But guys, you bring these kids into the world, you got to be a better adult, than you were before so that you can make sure they have a wonderful life. Hello. Okay, let's get started. Like I said, I don't want to be judgmental or be harsh on anybody because, like I said, this is something that I had to learn myself. So there's different situations, and I'm going to try to cover, as many as I can. I only have my perspective, which is, putting my child in an uncomfortable position to be with a guy. All right, so I personally did not intentionally do it. It was just something I thought I needed. I thought I needed to be in a relationship. I thought that was going to fulfill me. But that didn't actually turn out the best way that I thought it would be. And I actually was in a verbally abusive relationship. And I allowed my child, who was only like 4 or 5 at the time, but she knew she didn't want to be in that environment. And I would allow her to go be with my mother whenever she wanted to be, because I understood she didn't want to be there. I felt trapped, and I didn't understand how to get myself out of this situation. But eventually I did. And with that happening, my daughter, probably like 7 or 8 years old, which is years later, actually had a conversation with me and told me that she used to be very upset and very sad that she had to live with my mother sometimes and not with me because she didn't like the person that I was with. And it wasn't the whole time, but it was from the beginning. She didn't like the environment. So that really hurt me. I cried, and I couldn't believe that I had subjected my child to that type of, emotional strain, or to feel like I really didn't care about her, because I really did, and it was difficult for me to deal with. But this conversation is here because I want you guys to realize you can tell your kids you're sorry. You can say, I wasn't in my best mind. If they're old enough to rationalize that, tell them you're sorry. Ask for their forgiveness, because, these things do cause damage to other people, and hurt people, and you don't want your child to grow up to be another hurt person. So, definitely, I don't think they're too young for us to have conversations with them. My daughter was only like 7 or 8 when she told me that. I didn't ask her. She told me. So our kids are definitely smart enough to have a conversation with them, to ask them, how they feel, and forgive ourselves and ask them to forgive us. So Now, if you're in a situation where you're with a guy and you got pregnant and you have a child with someone, there's different scenarios, okay? Because a lot of people choose to not be with the father of their child. So sometimes the father of your child may not be a great guy. It may be obvious that he's not a good guy. It may be obvious that he is, maybe abusive, verbally, physically, doesn't matter. Maybe he is a deadbeat, and you just think that, okay, now that you have a baby with him, maybe things will change. And sometimes it does, and then it doesn't. And this is the situation we want to talk about today. If the father of your child turns out to be a deadbeat, do you stay or do you go? Now, if you stay or go, sometimes we may feel like we're being selfish, but are you really being selfish? If you decide to leave a deadbeat father, whether it's a newborn or maybe 2 or 3 years later, it doesn't matter. If you decide to leave because that person is negative, toxic, I don't believe that is a selfish thing. Please let me know, guys. Chime in. Give me your experiences, because I didn't necessarily face some of these situations. So we have to conversate with each other so that we can bring this to the light and, help other women who are confused. Because once you have a baby, sometimes you just want, okay, we got to make this work. I don't want my child to be, with one parent. I want my child to understand what it feels like to be with both parents. I get that. Been there, done that. But at some point, we have to realize it's not going to work. And sometimes it's better to just get your baby out of the situation, okay? If that person wants to be there and wants to be positive and non-toxic to you and your child, they will make the changes and you will know it. Until then, please do find a way to make a better life for you and your child. Because at the end of the day, and I'm going to say this many times throughout this conversation, your child only cares to see you happy and the father happy. Okay, so long as you guys are happy and not arguing, that is a lot better than keeping your child in a situation that is even toxic for you. Okay, now if you do have, let's say you get pregnant with a guy and he is a great dad and he will be a great dad, and you're not doubting that, but your heart isn't there. Maybe it could have been a one night stand. Maybe it could have been, I just was, messing around with this guy. He was a friend with benefits. I don't know. So sometimes a woman will not have her heart in the equation and may not want to be involved with the guy itself. So is it selfish to stay or move on? That's an interesting question. Ladies, you're going to have to help me with that one. Because you can't make yourself be in love. And at the same time, you probably feel a little bit guilty because now you have a baby in the equation and you want your child to have a healthy home life. So, I guess my opinion would be it's not selfish. If you don't really want to be with that person, then so be it. I know that a lot of people can be old-fashioned, and then sometimes once they get pregnant, they may want to say, we got to get married. That is some people's beliefs. That is what some people feel, and that's okay. But, at the end of the day, I believe in being honest with yourself. I believe in being truthful to yourself. And just because you're trying to make your child happy, you will definitely fall into a pit of unhappiness for yourself. Like I said, your kid will be better off seeing you happy and seeing their father happy. Okay, we're living in a different society now where, kids can be born into very tough situations. And I think there are a lot more tough situations than the parents not being together. I am a child of divorced parents, and honestly, I don't really remember much of it, but all I knew was I felt better once my parents felt better. And they felt better after they were able to separate and grow apart, and it became healthy for us. So, yes, it's an ideal situation. It would be nice for both parents to be together, but we want to make sure that we are non-toxic people and that we're being true to ourselves and that we are happy so that our children can see us be happy. Now, my particular situation is when I got pregnant, my daughter's father got sick. So he had started to suffer with mental illness, and I wanted to be able to work things out with him, but it just was not going to work, and it was mental illness was something that I never dealt with before. So my situation is a little bit different because my child's father did want to be there. It's not like he didn't want to, but I did have, someone in my life who came in and wanted to be a great guy for me and my child. But me as a newborn, a brand new mom, I didn't want to go full in like that. I still felt like I wanted to try to make it work with my child's father. But at the end of the day, ladies, if you do have a wonderful man that wants to come in and help you and your child and, take that role of being a second father to that child, it's possible. It has happened, it does happen. So yes, that is a great thing to do, especially if your child's father is a deadbeat. Go ahead and give someone else a chance as soon as you feel like you're ready, as soon as you feel like you can trust that person. Now we're going to open the door to the big question that, we all have as parents. What is the right time? What's the right time to allow someone into your life to help you raise your child? And I'm probably not the best person because me and my daughter, I have such an open relationship with her and open conversation and things like that. If I have someone that is close to me, she meets the people that are close to me. And if it's someone, whoever I'm dating, and they're a genuinely nice person, I don't mind bringing that person around my child. I never give my child the mentality that this person's going to come in and be your parent. I don't do that. And I let the person know who I could potentially be dating. I don't necessarily see you as the father of my child. But I feel like it's okay to meet them. Just don't come in thinking that you're going to be my child's stepfather right off the bat, because I don't play with that. That's my baby girl. And we're going to have to make sure she likes you and I like you both the same. So we have a comment here. Yes, that's very true. Children are very smart. Like I said, when my parents divorced, I was 11 and my brother was 13. And it was uncomfortable to see my parents very frustrated and very unhappy, very difficult. So once it all got over with and, they ended up living separate, we were good. I'm telling you, we were good. I can't even remember all the bad stuff mostly because once all the negativity went after the divorce, all I can remember now is the good things. So I remember the good things with my mom and the good things with my dad. So it was not a big deal. The hurt comes in when we allow our children to see the negative relationships. So, let's keep that in mind, parents. Sometimes we just feel like, we want to follow our hearts on everything and follow our feelings, but sometimes we just have to let go of the toxicity and make that sacrifice for our babies because they don't need to see that. Now, one thing that we really don't, well, let me go this way. All right, so there are some people who don't choose to move on. They choose to say, I'm going to work this out. They have the old-fashioned approach. He's father of my child. I'm just going to stick in here. Now, if you decide to take this very difficult route, okay, listen to what I'm saying. Do not take your anger and frustrations out on your child. You made the decision to stay in this situation knowing that this guy is going to constantly piss you off, abuse you, use you mentally and physically, verbally, it doesn't matter. You have no right to take those frustrations out on your child. I suggest you get your ass out the situation or point that anger and negativity towards this guy, and you better make sure you do it to where those kids do not see it. It's your responsibility to put up a facade for your kids. Your kids should not know that you're pissed off, frustrated, angry, and you can't stand the man that you're with. You decided to be in that relationship. Do not take that out on your kids. All right, raise them to be educated on how to pick partners in the future by starting with helping them pick friends. You know what I'm saying? If your child can learn how to pick friends and let friends go when they're toxic or no longer serve a purpose in your life, they can then adapt that into picking a partner and a mate someday. Because I guarantee you, especially moms, if you have a daughter, I guarantee you, if your daughter sees you putting up with a sorry ass man, I'm pretty sure she's going to end up doing it one point or another in her adulthood. Mark my word. So you guys have to make sure, if you're going to be in this situation, that facade needs to be up, that them kids do not know how much you're suffering, because it's not their fault. I don't mean to be harsh. This is not to be overly critical, but this is the truth. Our kids should not suffer. Once we give birth to these children, it is our responsibility to protect them and to make sure that they are not suffering because of us. As I told you guys when I started the podcast opening today, there's no reason why my coworker should tell me of a situation that she knows of where a mother has a homeless child on the streets with nowhere to live, sleeping on a bus bench, because she decided to be with a boyfriend or husband who would be a stepfather to this son. How do you do that? How is that possible? Why does this child have to suffer, but your man is comfortable every night? And I'm pretty sure you're cooking for him, you're cleaning for him, washing his clothes. How is that? Your child, from the day that you gave birth to that child to the day you leave this earth, your child is your responsibility to love them unconditionally. That is completely unacceptable in my point of view. Now, so on the other hand, if you do decide to move on from a bad relationship, to give your child a better life, okay? The next question be, what's the right time? You know, should I do it if I know that it's not going to be a good situation as soon as I give birth? Do I leave him as a newborn? Do I wait 2 or 3 years till my child is a toddler? Or do I wait till my child is a teenager? That is a very, very sensitive question. Once again, ladies, you guys are going to have to help me out with that, because I'm not really sure. I personally have not been in the situation, so my point of view may not be the best. But I say right away, I say if you know that you are not going to be in a positive relationship for your child, I think the sooner the better, okay? If you wait later on, like I said, you don't want your child to have to witness those situations where you may find yourself arguing or crying all the time. You know, sometimes we can be heartbroken, ladies. And sometimes, you know, I'm telling you, like, as a mom, it's kind of hard to be emotional. You want to be strong for your child. You don't want them to see you cry. And sometimes we do need to express the hardships and the emotions that we're dealing with. So to avoid that, to avoid holding all that stuff inside and making yourself sick and crazy, just don't even get into the situation from the jump. I say, as soon as you can, leave. Find maybe your mom or your dad or a family member that's close to you that can help you get on your feet with your child to avoid your child being in a toxic situation. Okay, so I have a note here about the reality of parenting and relationships. So the reality is, once we this could be a topic on its own, but I'm going to say it anyway. Once you decide to move on, and especially with ladies, keep in mind, okay, keep in mind that the father of your child is going to move on with his life too. That means, unfortunately, there will one day be another influence in that child's life, because he may get into a relationship. Same thing with guys. Your baby mother may be in a relationship with a new guy. This is the reality. I don't know why we have a hard time dealing with this. I don't know why we don't want to accept this when it happens. But ladies, we are the worst when it comes to it, okay? Yes, they definitely do bounce back. Absolutely, coach. And ladies, we have the hardest time dealing with a new woman coming into our child's life. Now, like I told you, my daughter's father is sick, so I have never had an instance where my daughter has had to be introduced to another woman in the form of a stepmother. I am a stepdaughter. My dad remarried. My stepmother is a wonderful lady, okay? She taught me so much about being a woman, and to this day, she loves me and I love her. It was a smooth transition. It was never an issue. If you're lucky enough to get these situations, lady, please do not make it hard and difficult for these women who want to come in and be a stepmother to your child. Your child's father may have been an asshole when you first had the child, but maybe over the years he cleaned up his act. Now he's remarried or moved on to another woman. Do not make their lives a living hell. Okay? By all means, protect your child. I'm not saying you should not interview this person. I'm not saying that you should not make sure this person is eligible and qualified to be your child's stepmother. By all means, do that. But that's where it should stop. Once you establish that this is a good person for your child to be around and they're going to help nurture your child in a very good way, that's it. The jealousy, the anger, the bitterness, that has to stop. Because just like being in the toxic situation, you are creating a toxic situation. So now that child has to deal with the perspective of you not liking her, but at the same time, they don't see an issue with this person because this person is actually really nice to them. So now you're creating a toxic environment for the child the same way. I believe that guys do the same thing, you know, when it comes to children being fathered by another guy. You know, I'm sure it happens, but I really do see it mostly with women. Ladies, we have to accept that our child's fathers will move on. The next thing, which would be another reality check, is your child needs to see both of you happy together. I said that already. Kids grow up and they will understand. This is important, okay? Kids are kids only for a brief moment, okay? A very brief moment. Kids begin, like Coach said, kids begin to recognize and be able to rationalize relationships very early on. They know right from wrong. They develop a judgment, especially as teenagers. One day, your child will grow up to be an adult, and they're going to have relationship issues too. So for you to think that you're protecting your child by staying in a relationship just so that your child can have both parents in the house, that's only going to last for so long. Because all your child is going to remember is my mom hated my dad. My mom suffered. Okay, that's all they're going to see. Just as you think you're hiding that from them, that's what they're going to see. Then they're going to grow up and continue that same pattern. Do what is right so that your kids can know, hey, you know, my mom started over. She got out of a bad situation. That's something that inspires me. So I'm not going to settle for a bad relationship. I'm not going to settle for something that is toxic. I am going to start over and move on. That is the adult that you want to raise. You don't want to raise someone that's going to continue the sabotage for self and for relationships with the opposite sex or what have you. You don't want that. Keep in mind that your child is going to grow up and be an adult one day, okay? Now, fourth reality check I want you guys to know, especially with mothers, okay? Love your babies more than you love anybody else, okay? Love your babies more than you love anybody else. Yes, you love your husband, even if it's your second husband, you're remarried. Yes, you love them, but you should not love them more than you love your child. Protect your children first. Make sure, because anybody that comes into your house, your life, and wants to be a part of your life, and you have a child, you set the bar for the way that your child gets treated. You love your child more than you love your mate, okay? Because your mate will fall in line with that amount of love that you're giving, and because they want to be in your life, they're going to match that. So make sure you are loving your child more than your mate. Do not put your child on the street because you want to have someone to go to bed with every night. That ain't cool, okay? Do not neglect your children because you want somebody to sleep with every night. Don't do it, okay? Your children are watching. They're going to come back eventually if they're open enough to tell you that it hurt them, okay? They're going to come and tell you it hurt them. It's not worth it. Now, sometimes as women, we're addicted to partnerships. And the word addicted, I use that word because sometimes we want the man at any cost. Like I said before, that cost should never be your child, okay? You cannot want to be in a relationship or partnership because of the sake of you wanting to be in love, and then your child gets pushed to the side because you just have this fulfilling. Now, how do we do that? How do we get past that? Because I don't want to just say don't, focus on the partnership, but how do you get past that desire, that needing of someone else? Because that's really just an illusion for something else. So the fact that you are yearning for someone else to complete you or make you feel happy means that you need to do some work. Now, if you are a parent and you chose the wrong, I'm not going to say the wrong, but if you chose someone who was a deadbeat dad or someone who couldn't deliver the fatherhood and the manhood to you and your child, that says something about you off bat, okay? So that means that you got to do some internal work, okay? You got to work on your choices, your standards, what you believe for yourself, what you believe for your life. You got to do that work, okay? With that, you're going to become a better parent, okay? So this is how you get to the point where you choose the right partner, because your partner is going to match the level of love that you give your child. But you have to do the internal work to get to that. So ladies, let me know. Leave your comments on what you feel about that. And do you feel like at some point in your life that you have maybe, cherished your relationship with a guy more than your child? And if you have, like I said, I've definitely done it. I've been in several relationships over the course of my child's life. I've been in long distance relationships, and that's definitely affected her. When I would travel to go be with someone, and she would tell me she cried, and I didn't mean it in a harmful way. I just, wanted to go and, experience different things relationship wise, and I didn't realize that actually, affected my child. So ladies, mothers, fathers, we all have had the situation where maybe we have put our relationship and our personal lives before our children. And we have to remember, we brought them into this world. It's our sacrifice, our discipline, our personal growth to put our children first and make sure our children are healthy mentally and feel loved by us. Because I tell you one thing, and it's bad when you're a single parent, because now there's one person that's missing. Okay, so if they don't have that other parent and they also feel like they don't have you 100%, they're going to spend the rest of their life looking for that acceptance, that love from someone else. And that's definitely something that you don't want. Okay, so ladies, a good man will always reinforce the love that you have for your child. And it would never be a choice between him and your child. It should never be a choice between him and your child. So the last thing I want to discuss is something that I don't have experience with. And we have healthy couples. We have couples that are actually together, committed to each other, maybe married. And then you bring in the child into the relationship for the first time. You have finally had a child. And I can imagine how that could be difficult, because now this is the married conversation. I've never been married. So ladies, if you've been married or are married, you have to chime in and give us your opinions on what it's like to be married and, focused on each other for so long. And then finally a baby comes along and then, things are different. I would love to know how you guys deal with that. How you guys introduce the baby into the equation. Do you guys still have time for each other? Do you guys work all the time and don't see the child? The child is at daycare and school most of the day, or the child's with the grandmother most of the day because you guys are working so much. Like, a lot of things happen once you introduce the child into the relationship. So let us know. Leave your comments. We want to know what it's like, when you have that healthy relationship and you're introducing the child. I'm curious to know. And I can imagine that it would be difficult. It does not get difficult because both parents are in the equation. It does get difficult in the same fashion. So let us know. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I'm so happy to be back to talk to you guys. I really, really hope that this conversation has helped mothers and fathers out there, because we really need to focus on our babies. Our babies are our future. Okay, if we want a better future, we got to raise better adults. Okay, and if you want to raise a better adult, you got to become a better adult. So I don't mean to be harsh with anybody. Like I said, I'm guilty of this, and I have definitely been making up the times that I have maybe neglected my child. Now I give her my attention. Her grades are better. Her personality is better because she has my undivided attention, because it's just me. You know, her dad's not in the picture. Not that he doesn't want to be, but he's not. So we have to work double, to compensate for being a single parent, ladies. And I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. And I know that sometimes you may get lonely. You may want someone, to be in a relationship with, but it's worth it, okay? When the time is right, the right person will come along and step into your life and be the right step parent to your child. Don't rush it. Don't be desperate for it. Just focus on you, focus on your baby, and everything will fall into place. So, as usual, guys, as you see, my avatar is Kina Monic. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook artist page. And keep in mind that you can always get your notifications when we go live. Okay, all the ladies have a segment. If you get the notification, you will be notified every time one of us goes live, and you will not miss an episode. However, if you do miss an episode, that's what YouTube is for. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. You will get exclusive content, and we are doing a contest. So the way you enter the contest is by subscribing to YouTube, and you will win a gift. It's a mystery gift, so we're not going to tell you what it is. It's a surprise. So make sure you guys are subscribing on YouTube so that you can enter that contest. Once again, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Happy Sunday and a great Monday to you guys who are going back to work. It's your girl, Kina Monic, and it's been a wonderful conversation with you guys. All the moms and dads out there, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And I will see you guys next week. Peace out.